Product of powers. Product, as you know, means multiplication. And a power, you probably haven't heard of powers since probably like 6th grade. Powers is another name for the exponent. So with this lesson, the way that we would state this is a to the m power times a to the n power. So the way it works, this is the rule of product of powers, is that when your bases, which are your a's, when your bases are the same, what you're going to do with your powers is just simply add them together. So I'm going to do a couple of examples and then I'll do the A, B, and C from the worksheet. With any of these worksheets, if I'm not giving you enough examples, just let me know and I can give you some more, because I know in class I would typically do more if needed. So I know that this is a little bit trickier. And no, you don't have the calculator for this, and even if we were in class, I wouldn't show you how to use a calculator for this. So we will be doing all of this by hand. Okay, so here's how this works. So we have what we call monomials. This is 3x to the 6th power times 5x to the 2nd power. So we're still going to multiply our bases together. So we have 3 times 5, which is 15. And instead of multiplying the powers together, just like I stated up here, the rule of product of powers is you take your powers and you add them. So when we look at the power of 6 and we look at the power of 2, all we simply do is add them together. And 6 plus 2 is 8. So the only thing really being multiplied together is your bases, and then the powers are being added together. So coming down for another example, again, we are multiplying. We have this negative 4, a to the 3rd power, b to the 1st power, times 3 times a to the 2nd power times b to the 5th power. Notice I put this little 1 by the b because it's kind of like when we've seen variables in the past when we have x. And even though you don't see it, you know that there's a 1 in front of that x. Or when it's negative x, and we say, well, it's negative 1 in front of the x, even though it's not seen. So since this doesn't have a given power, you have to assume that that is a 1 there. And that becomes very important when we have to add our powers together. So again, we're going to do negative 4 times positive 3. So the very first thing I do is I look at my bases and I multiply them together. And now we're going to look at our powers. So A, my bases are the same. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to add the 3 and I'm going to add the 2. And that gives me A to the power of 5. And then we have B. These bases are the same. And like I said, that's not a 0, that's a 1. So we're going to add 1 and we're going to add 5. And that's going to give us a power of 6. So I multiplied my integers together. I looked at my bases that are the same. I added their powers. Here's the b's, the bases are the same. And I added their powers to get the 6. Okay, so here is the A, B, and C from the worksheet. So we're going to multiply our 2 and our 3 together, which gives us 6. And just like on the previous example, you have to think of this as v to the 1st power and v to the 1st power. So if this is, my base is v, my power 1 plus 1 is going to give me 2. On letter B, I'm going to take my 3, I'm going to take my 4, I'm going to multiply those two together. And then I look at my bases that have the exponents. The x and the x are same bases. So this is x to the 3rd power. This is x to the 3rd power. So all we do is 3 plus 3 is 6. And the y, he has no friends, so we just simply rewrite him as he is. Okay, on letter C. So I'm looking for the bases that are the same. So I have h to the second power, and I have h to the second power. There's no numbers or integers to multiply together like we had up here. All I see are variables. So again, my h and my h, I'm going to take my powers, 2 and 2, and I add them together, and I get h to the fourth power. Then I have k to the third power, and you have k to the first power. So we're going to have k, and we have 3 plus 1 is 4. And then j, he doesn't have any friends, so we just rewrite him as he is. So again, if you need some more examples, just let me know and I can help you out.